Hey everybody, welcome to Alchemy 365. Thanks for joining us for today's A10 workout. With our A10, we're going to set our clock for 10 minutes. We're going to work as many rounds as possible as we possibly can of 10 push-ups, 10 reach backs, 10 half burpees, and 20 jumping lunges. Before we get started, we're going to have Coach Christy demonstrate these movements and modifications that you can use if you are still working on a full expression of the movement. So we're going to start with our push-ups. Christy's going to get down into a high plank position with her shoulders stacked up over her wrists. Her hips are in line with the shoulder and the ankle. She's going to lower her chest all the way to the floor, make contact, and then press all the way back out, fully extending the elbows at the top of the movement. That is the full range of motion on her push-up. One more rep, the chest makes contact with the floor. She presses all the way back. If you're still working on a standard push-up, we can always do a knee-assisted push-up here, lowering ourselves to our knees, still in a long line from the shoulder through the hip, through the knee, and the range of motion doesn't change with the chest making contact with the floor every single repetition. This is a great scaling option for folks still working on a standard push-up. Next, we move into our reach backs, getting into a downward facing dog position. She'll touch her right hand off of her left ankle on the outside of that left ankle. She'll walk herself back to her high plank position and then close back up to downward facing dog before taking the left hand and touching it off of her right ankle. And she'll do that back and forth each time she touches her ankle. That counts as 1 rep. So to do 10 reach backs, she's going to do 5 reps per side. One of the ways that we can modify this movement is by staying in the downward facing dog position, having our right hand reach back, touch that opposite ankle, and then instead of walking out to high plank, we'll just stay there and then alternate hands and which side we're touching. The next movement is a half burpee. She'll lay herself down on her chest, peel her chest up off the floor, and pop to the bottom of a squat. So from here, you can see her knees are driving out over her toes, her chest is lifted, her hip is just about below parallel before she plants her hand and jumps her feet back, lowering herself down on the floor. Take note that this is not a rigid push-up. She is peeling her chest up off the ground before jumping to the bottom, and likewise, she's planting her hands and then just lowering herself down loosely to the floor before she peels back up and finds the bottom of that squat once more. One of the ways we can modify this movement is planting our hands and stepping our feet back. We can even take out the chest to the floor part of the movement altogether before we step back up to the bottom of that squat, lifting our chest, hands coming up off the ground, planting on them, and stepping back. Finally, we've got jumping lunges. She'll start by taking a big step with that right foot. That left knee touches down off the floor. Right knee is stacked up over that front ankle. Remember, she's always in the heel of her front foot, never in the toe, and the shoulder is always upright, stacked up over the hip. She never leans forward. From here, she jumps straight up, switching her feet, swapping out which leg is back and which leg is forward before doing it again and again, and that is our jumping lunge. The way we can modify this is by doing a standard forward lunge step, stepping forward, back knee touches off the floor before she presses through the heel of that front foot and returns to a standing position at the back of her space. And even further, if you've got any kind of residual or knee issues that you're still working through, we can take a backwards lunge step, which should take some of the pressure off of that kneecap as we do this movement. So there you go. Those are our movements. As a reminder, we're going to set our clock for 10 minutes. We're going to work through 10 push-ups, 10 reach backs, 10 half burpees, and 20 jumping lunges. We're going to do as many rounds as we possibly can. Before we get going on our workout, however, we are going to warm up. So follow along with us as much as you possibly can. If at any point you need to pause the video, practice a movement, or get a little extra warm-up, please feel free to do that, and then join us when you're ready. We will start at standing at attention. Feet are together to touch. Hands are down at your side. Palms are up towards the front of the room. And right now, all you're doing is focusing on deep, long breaths, pulling air in past the lungs, down into your stomach. Add some tension into your quads, into your glutes. Pull the rib cage down to the belly button. Add some tension into your abs. All together, take a big breath in. Roll your shoulders up into your ears. Pull them back behind you and let them drift down at your side. Make a fist and release it. Do that a few times. You can wiggle your fingers around. Roll your wrists out down at your sides. Good, another big breath in, another big shoulder roll up, back and down. Good, one more time. Big breath in, shoulders up, shoulders back, and shoulders down. Go ahead and open your eyes. Take mountain pose. Reach your hands high up overhead. Pinkies towards the front of the room, palms facing each other. Again, ribs locked down to belly button, glutes are squeezed. Forward fold, head and chest. Hinging forward, lowering down towards the floor. Widen your feet, take ragdoll pose. That would be crisscrossing your arms up, top of your head hanging long and loose to the floor. Bobbing side to side, decompressing the hips, decompressing the low back. Left hand places down between the feet. Right hand reaches tall. A few wrist rolls, followed by a few shoulder sweeps, brushing fingertips off the floor. Couple forward, couple backward. And then go ahead and switch sides. Left hand comes down. Right hand comes down. Left hand reaches tall. Wrist rolls and shoulder sweeps. Facing the opposite side of the room. Good. Bring both hands down. Widen your feet out into a squat stance. You're going to be about shoulder width apart. Toes pointed out just slightly. Go ahead and lower your hips down into the bottom of that squat. And you can kind of move around down here. Be loose, be relaxed, open the hips up. Just make sure the hands are up off the ground. Try to be in your heels. Take a look down. Your heels should be on the floor. You should not be in your toes. And then go ahead and stand up. And at your own pace, at your own relaxed warm-up pace, take about 10 air squats here. If range of motion, meaning if getting your hip down below your knee is something you're still working on, don't worry about that. Really, this is a warm-up exercise meant to open the hips, open the knees. Make sure the knees are tracking out over the toes. Make sure the chest is lifted tall. Make sure your weight is back in your heels. That's the most important thing. When you return to the standing position at the top of that 10th squat, you can go ahead and get into 10 jumping jacks. So again, at your own pace, jumping those feet outside the shoulder, swinging hands up overhead, and then back to a normal standing position, rebounding back and forth, right into 10 jump and touch. So we're going to rebound up and down off the balls of our feet, getting some activity in the shoulders every single time. Good. From here, forward fold, head and chest, hinging forward, lowering down towards the floor. Widen out those feet to about shoulder width apart. We're going to do some monkey squats here, lowering our hips down between our heels, keeping our hands down on the floor, and then sending the hips back high and burying our head and chest down by our knees. Give me about 5 of those monkey squats, nice and slowly. This should be a big hamstring stretch as you pull your knees to the back of the room and lift your hips. Every time you do this, try to bury that head and chest a little closer to your quads, feeling a good pull on those hamstrings. After that, toe heel those feet back together to touch in a standard forward fold position. Good. High plank, plant your hands. Step your feet back. Low plank, shift forward, bend to 90. Upward facing dog and hold here. Press down into the tops of your feet so hard that the quads are up off the ground, the knees are up off the ground, your shoulders are stacked over your wrists, and then find downward facing dog. Good, and at your own pace, what I want you to do is shift back forward to high plank, low plank, upward and downward facing dog 3 times. And you can do this nice and slowly, and as you see, you can see Coach Andrea is lowering herself down to her knees as she does that low plank position, which is a great option as you scale through this. This should be warming up the triceps, the shoulders, even the abs and the hamstrings a little bit. When you've got those 3 reps, go ahead and baby step your feet all the way up to the top of your space. Another 10 jumping jacks. Another 5 air squats for me. Again, trying to lift the chest. If you want a challenge, go ahead and reach your hands high up above your head. Feet are about shoulder width apart. Weight, again, is back in the heels. Always back in the heels. Then go ahead and find your way back to downward facing dog, planting your hands, stepping your feet back. Hips are high, chest is dropped through. Take a breath here, pedal it out, sink the heels just a little bit. We're going to move it along. 3-legged down dog, right toes reaching tall, up and over the top, toward the side wall, open the hips, roll out the ankle here just a little bit. Take a wide runner's lunge, step your right foot up outside your right hand. Good, keep that back knee off the floor. Start to take some small circles at the ankle, at the knee, at the hip. Step back into high plank. And we're gonna take a side plank with your left hand down, your right hand reaching tall. Feel the left shoulder stabilizing you. Again, Coach Andrea demonstrating a way to modify this movement, keeping her left knee down as a base. Good, squaring back up to high plank. And then go ahead and open up opposite side of the room. High plank. And we're going to go ahead and transition back and forth into our side planks for a total of 4 reps. So side plank on the left, side plank on the right, back and forth for 4 total reps. And then we can press back to our downward facing dog. Excellent. On the left side, 3-legged down dog, left toes reach tall. Up and over the top. Open up the hips, roll out the ankle. Good, wide runner's lunge, stepping up outside that left hand. Same thing here as the other side. We're gonna do a little hip grinding, small circles at the ankle, the knee, and the hip. Really driving that front knee out toward the sidewall, feeling a stretch on the outside of that hip flexor. Stepping back to high plank, and one more time, 4 side plank transitions. Each time you do this, make sure that you keep those hips elevated. And again, don't be afraid to drop to the knees as needed. After that 4th rep, If you want, you can lower your knees. Otherwise, we're going to do some push-ups here from the toes. I want to get 5 full push-ups, the chest making contact with the floor every single time. After 5, press back to downward facing dog. All the way through one sequence here, and then we're ready to start our workout. 3-legged down dog, right toes reach tall. Low lunge, stepping through, stack your front knee over that front ankle, rise to crescent lunge. Lift your chest, send your hands high up overhead. Square your hips to the front of the room. In this case, pull that left hip forward. Warrior 2, ground your back heel, open up to the side wall. Extended side angle, reaching forward and down. Reverse your warrior, front arm up and back. Stay low in your right leg, keep flexion in your right leg. Low lunge, swing down, and step your right foot back into downward facing dog. Hop up to the top of your space. 10 more jumping jacks before finding your downward facing dog position. At this point, you should be breathing. Should be starting to get warm. After these jumping jacks, downward facing dog, and we will take it through here on the left side. 3-legged down dog, left toes reach tall. Good, low lunge, stepping through, stacking your front knee. Crescent lunge, lift the chest, send those hands high, square the hips, activity up overhead. Warrior 2, ground your back heel, open to the side wall. Extended side angle, reaching forward and down, front arm down in front of that leg. Reverse your warrior, stay low, reach that left arm up and back. Low lunge, swing down, and step back into your downward facing dog. Take a breath here, sink the heels, drop your chest through, pedal it out here just a little bit. Good, take a look up to the top of your space, step all the way up, return to a standing position. We are ready to start our workout. As a reminder, we've got a 10-minute workout. We're gonna work through as many rounds as we possibly can of 10 push-ups, 10 reach backs, 10 half burpees, and 20 jumping lunges. If you need a little bit more warm-up, if you need a moment to practice any of these movements, feel free to pause the video, do that at your own pace, and then restart the video whenever you're ready to go. All right, everybody, it is time to start the workout. If you're at home, if you've got a friend nearby, if you've got a dog nearby, if you've got a child watching, give them a high five, get pumped up. We've got 10 minutes of work toward the rest of our lives, and it's gonna start in 10 seconds here. Coming at you in 5, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right, 10 push-ups, 10 reach backs, 10 half burpees, 20 jumping lunges. As many rounds as possible for 10 minutes. So the first thing that's gonna go most likely is your push-ups. Don't be afraid to start to break those reps up or those sets up into sets of 5, even 5 sets of 2, whatever it takes to work through them. And of course, if you're starting on your toes and need at any point to transition into a knee-assisted push-up, that is perfectly acceptable to do. As a reminder, when we're doing our reach backs, we're walking out to high plank each time before our right hand touches that left ankle or our left hand touches that right ankle, and the modification is to stay in that downward facing dog and continue to reach back. Good, as we transition into these half burpees, don't make it a push-up, don't make it harder than it needs to be. Plant your hands, jump your feet back, lay down on the floor, and then pop back to your feet, finding the bottom of that good, strong squat. And of course, last but not least, we're gonna transition here into jumping lunges. Taking that step forward, staying straight up and down, like a pogo stick. That shoulder and that hip moves straight up and down. You're never leaning forward, swapping those legs out. And again, you can always look for modifications. In the back right, Coach Andrea is demonstrating a way to modify this movement with a standard lunge, and even further, a backward lunge step if needed. Now, with any of our workouts, the goal is to stay in as much motion as possible. That doesn't mean you're not gonna rest. It doesn't mean you're not gonna shake your arms out or break sets up into multiple pieces. The goal is to get as much work as you possibly can done in the amount of time allotted. In this case, we've got 10 minutes. So better to work steady and consistently than burn out early. And we've still got about 7.5 minutes left on the clock. A great deal of this workout is spent in some variation of plank. Make sure whenever you're walking out to high plank in a reach back or you're doing a push-up, that plank is solid first before you get any kind of motion going. That means that the hip is still in line with the shoulder and the ankle. It's not sagging and it's not piked for comfort. You will find yourself making your way into a more comfortable position even without thinking about it. That's normal, but try to resist that urge. Looking good, guys. Remember, bottom of the squat, chest is up, knees are driving out over the toes. We're below parallel, but we're not soft and lazy. We're not loose in the bottom of that squat. Weights back in the heels. Good, transitioning into those jumping lunges. You got it, you got it, you got it. Stay in motion. As we like to say at Alchemy, slow motion is better than no motion. Remember, you're in control of your own pace at home. Regardless of what you're seeing the athletes and coaches do on the screen, your job is to go as fast as you can. For some of you, that might mean going faster. For some of you, it might be going slower. Find a pace that's appropriate for you and try to stick with it. We are crossing that halfway mark. We're on the way down the hill here. 5 minutes left on the clock. Remember, if you need a drink of water, that's fine, just don't dawdle. Any resting should be absolutely necessary. Nothing excessive. Good, guys. 4 and change left on the clock. 4 and change left on the clock. It's always the last third of the workout where people start to fizzle out. They start to tell themselves they can't keep going. This is where you have to dig in, focus, stay in the fight, keep your pace up. One thing you can do as the fatigue starts to set in and as you start to burn, focus on the mechanics of your movement. What is it you're supposed to be doing with your body? Don't think about how you feel. Think about what it is you're supposed to be doing. Precise movement, clean movement, efficient movement. That should be your goal. That's where your head should be. All right, let's get back to it. Here we go, guys. Come on. Three minutes. 3 minutes. You can do anything for 3 minutes. All right, guys, fourth quarter of this A10. You got 2.5 left, 2.5 left. I think you can dig through 1, maybe 2 rounds. Keep the pace high, keep working. At this point, it's about redlining. Go for broke here on this. Don't leave anything left in the tank. You should finish this workout and have nothing left. Remember, with anything like this, the more intensity you bring now, the better you feel when it's over. Keep working. "90 seconds. Last 90. Good job, guys. Focus on your movement. Keep the movements clean. Moving fast, being tired is never an excuse for poor movement quality. "60 seconds left. Last 60 seconds on the clock. Let's go, coaches. "45. Taking 15-second chunks. Come on, 15-second chunks. Good job, Eric. Keep rolling, keep rolling. 30 seconds. Last 30 seconds. Home stretch here, home stretch. "15 seconds, last 15 seconds. Finish what you're working on. Finish what you're working on in 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Time. Nice job. Well done. A10 is complete. High fives all around. Give yourself a pat on the back. Nice work. This is an opportunity to get a drink of water, catch your breath here a little bit, pause the video as needed, and then rejoin us for the cool down when you are ready. Do not skip the cool down. All right, everybody, great job. Way to finish strong. We're gonna do a quick cool down here. It's a really important part of your workout. Make sure you restore your body after the workout is complete before you go on with your day. So bring the feet back together to touch. Come back to standing at attention. Come back to that cool, calm breathing. Try to slow that breathing down to a normal cadence. And again, just like we started, big breaths in past the lungs, into the stomach, rolling the shoulders up, back, and down. Unlike the top of class, go ahead and give up some of the tension. Relax your shoulders a little bit. Good, open your eyes. Take mountain pose, reach your hands high, up overhead. Right hand's gonna capture your left wrist. Take a side body stretch, pull that arm up and over the top. Stay square to the front of the room. Don't let that left shoulder drift forward. Get back to the middle, left on right, opposite direction. Back to the middle. And forward fold, head and chest hinging forward, lowering down toward the floor. On your own pace, we're gonna take some crouch and curl. Again, cooling down, no rush, no race. You're gonna sink your hips down to your heels as you get way up on those tippy toes. And then flatten out those feet as you send the hips high and pull the knees back. You can do this for about 10 seconds, continuing to breathe, just decompressing, stretching out the hamstrings. Excellent. We'll find high plank here. So plant your feet, plant your hands, then step back into high plank. Excellent. We'll find tabletop pose. So go ahead and drop your knees down to the floor. You're on all fours here. We're going to thread the needle, stretch out the shoulders in the back. Start by reaching your right hand high, opening up, and then sending it underneath your left armpit, across your body with your palm up. So your right shoulder, your right cheek are down on the floor. And there is an option here to take that left hand and drape it up and across your back towards your right hip to further stretch out. Good, bring your left hand back underneath your shoulder for a little base. Reach your right hand high and touch back down on all fours. On the opposite side now, left arm reaches high, opening up, and then threading that underneath the right armpit, dropping the left shoulder and the left cheek down to the floor. And again, same option, take that right hand, drape it up and over the top toward your left hip. Good. Right hand can come back to base underneath that shoulder. Left arm reaches high. Good. Bring it down underneath you. Keep your hips stacked. We're going to take puppy pose here. So start to walk your hands forward, keeping your hips up on top of your knees. Don't let them drift back too much. And drop your head and chest down towards the floor. Feel a big stretch. You should be lengthening out that torso, pulling the shoulder up out of the hip. And when you're ready, take your fingertips, walk those hands, those arms even a little bit further forward. Slowly walking your hands back underneath your shoulders. Curl your toes underneath, press back to downward facing dog. Excellent. We're going to take three-legged down dog. Right toes reach tall, low lunge. Step through between your hands. And then go ahead and drop your back knee to the floor. We're going to take a half splits here, so start to shift your hips back, extending that right leg, flexing those right toes up towards the ceiling. And again, dropping your head and chest down towards that right knee, that right quad, feeling a big stretch through the hamstrings. Good, and then you're going to walk back forward and then back into that same half splits. Just kind of reestablishing a little bit more range of motion, a little bit more flexibility there. And of course, as this is a cool down, continue to focus on your breathing. Walk your hands back forward, step your right foot back, find downward facing dog. We'll do it on the left side now, left toes reaching tall. Excellent low lunge, stepping through, dropping the back knee to the floor. And here again, half splits, shifting your weight back, extending that left leg, flexing the left toes up towards the ceiling. Walking your hands back forward, stepping back into downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Continue to sink the heels, drop the chest through. Go ahead and take a look up to the top of your space. Step all the way through, have a seat on your butt. And actually in this situation, we're going to have Coach Christy turn around so she's facing the back of the room to give you a different vantage point. All the coaches are going to lay down now onto their backs. We're going to take supine pigeon. We're going to start with our right leg, figure fouring up over the top of that left leg, interlacing fingers behind that left hamstring, applying a little bit of pressure there so that you can feel a big stretch on the outside of that right hip flexor. And there's an option here to take it a little further by placing your right hand on the inside of that right knee and pushing away from you just gently, just a little bit of extra pressure if it feels okay, if it feels good. Good. And when you're ready, go ahead and slowly start to release and swap those legs out, left leg figure four across the top of that right leg, interlacing behind that right hamstring. And here again, option to take your left hand and press gently on the inside of that left knee away from you, feeling this stretch on the outside of that left hip flexor. Good, release that stretch. Pull both knees into your chest. Start to rock here side to side, the low back pressing down into the floor. You can rock forward and backward a little bit. Good, and when you're ready, taking a big breath in and releasing into a final resting pose. Arms and legs long and loose down at your side. Your eyes are closed. Your body is completely relaxed right now. Your mind is clear. Take about 2 minutes just to be calm, be in this space. Congratulate yourself for the work you just did. Okay, as you start to come back to yourself, begin with fingers and toes. Small motions there. You can make a fist at your side and release it. You can point your toes to the front of the room, then flex those ankles up towards the ceiling. You can start to rock your chin here a little bit side to side, just an inch or two. And then all the way out over the shoulders. Start to open your breathing back up, taking longer pulls of air. Reach your hands up above your head, let elbows and wrists sink to the floor. Point your toes to the front of the room, take that long morning stretch. And finally, when you're ready, rock up to a seated position at the top of your space, keeping your eyes closed. Where we will end class together with 3 breaths, just the way we started. Each one on my cue, in through the nose, out through an open mouth. And when we've exhaled that 3rd breath, you can open your eyes and you can start your day. All together here. First breath in. And out. Second breath in. And out. And that third breath in. And out. Go ahead and open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining us for today's A10. I hope it was great. I hope you feel more alive than you started. Join us for another one whenever you feel like it. We'll be here. We'll be ready. Have a great day.